how many countries?
Oh, cool.
Oh, so not just Germany. Because you have people that say that they're the people, and all of them migrate from one landmass. They're called Ashkenazi Jews. Ashkenaz in Hebrew means word. What? German. And 90, what percentages of 96% of all the Jews in that land or in the world are what?
German.
German are Ashkenazi Jews. And the other 4 to 6% is what? Sephardic and Sephardim or what?
Spaniards.
So you know they wouldn't be the people. I'm probably going to get taken off Facebook today. But anyway, it is what it is. Okay. But he said, I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries where I have driven them. Now, that's a lot in there. He said, I'm bringing them where? He said, I'm going to gather them from where? All countries. From what? From where? What?
East.
Thank you. That's what I'm looking at right there. From where I have driven them, or I have scattered them. How did he do this? Didn't Morris say he brought it to the house? He brought it through the front door and escorted her straight out the back door?
Yes, sir. Hey.
She never got a chance to even sit down. He said, well, I have driven them, not will the nations have driven them. He did this, all because she didn't understand the order and the structure of his house. That's why I was saying, you have to understand the pattern and the structure that the Most High set up. I was talking to Moray on the side the other night, or the other morning rather, and I said, Moray, you notice something? I said, when we go back to the garden, I said, even with the original pattern, everything started with Yahuah, to his son, then to the man. And I know y'all probably think we're beating a dead horse here. No, we're not. Because this is the very thing that's going to save people's life. You have to line back up with the original order, the original structure. I said, you don't find it strange, Moray, that during that whole entire ordeal in the garden, Yahuah only spoke to the man. I said, but what's equally impressive is, do you not realize throughout that whole entire ordeal in the garden, Shaitan only spoke to the woman? Yahuah only spoke to the man, Shaitan only spoke to the woman. The woman brought back information from that Shaitan had revealed to her man. Shaitan never went to the man. Yahuah never went to the woman. Y'all look at me like I'm speaking Chinese. Go ahead, Al.
And so just to make sure I understand it, that doesn't mean that the father won't deal with the woman, but whatever the woman brings back to the man, it has to line up with what is the instruction that the man was given, correct?
No, he won't deal with the woman. I'm just playing. Right, so yeah, so I'm not going to say he won't deal with the woman, because we've seen many times throughout Scripture where Yahuah has used the woman. Matter of fact, we exist today because he used a woman.
Hallelujah.
The nation of Yashra'al exists today because he used a woman. So don't think I'm trying to show when it goes back to Torah principle.
Order.
And order. Torah principle and order. He always speaks directly with that man. Only time he gets outside of the man when the man is outside of him.
That's right.
And then he uses whatever is necessary to convey his message to his people. And he used a donkey to save Abel like that. He got so to the donkey had to really just literally come out of his natural being and start talking like a man. Literally. So what we see is the order. That's like in any house. The Most High, He's going to deal with that man. As long as that man is lined up with Torah, He's speaking and dealing with that man. And there are some times, but the good thing about it is it's having balance within a home. I didn't say having equality. I said have somebody to what you want to what's the word I'm looking for? Like if I just want to be sure that, sometimes I want to just bounce things off of you, to make sure. Huh?
Confirmation.
Something, yeah, confirmation or.
That's
What's that word you said?
Assurance.
Well, accountability, yeah.
Assurance.
counsel.
Yeah, huh?
To our counsel.
Oh, counsel, all good. It's another word I'm looking for, but all those words are good. Because let's say I got something I feel like the Most High has given me. And I'll get with Gabar. So, I feel like Yahuah saying this or speaking this to me. And it's kind of like iron sharpening iron, but I want to get his input. So now, he said, you know what? The scripture said that, so that does line up. That makes a lot of sense.
Affirmation.
Yeah, affirmation coming, but it's some more.
You still ain't getting the word I'm looking for. We good.
We got it. And that's what a wife is for. Go ahead, Mark.
Right. You know what? You made a very good point. The father is dealing with the Ishas, absolutely. But we can't get it mixed up. Don't mix pre-eating with post-eating.
That's right.
Right.
Okay? Because in eating, the father was only dealing with Adam. All right? Then after now, they were kicked out of the garden, so now we see things beginning to change a little bit. But pre-exile, the father was only dealing with that Ish. And we see that chain of command also too now is that when the father was dealing with the nation of Israel, the father always dealt with his representative. He was not speaking directly to any other person. He spoke with the voice of a individual. So what man, literal man, has ever spoke and seen the Father? No, but he was using the Mashiyach. This was always the Mashiyach. He was always there from the very beginning. So we're just trying to share here now is that there's, a lot of times we try to use or they go going on in Eden and try to apply it now post out after we got kicked out of the garden. What need would it be now if the Father has set up a representative somebody to speak for himself? What need would it be now for me to have a direct conversation with the Father? You see what I'm saying? If the Father set up Adam and he has an Isha, and the Father is dealing with Adam, what would be the purpose for the Isha to speak with the Father if the Father set up Adam to be his voice in the garden? What would be the purpose?
Because that you see Adam bearing the fruit, and that makes me think about like the seed that was planted. Now I need to see your fruit. You got to work this, So what I'm saying it's going to line up. Your fruit's going to line up with what it is that I'm telling you. That's life. Like at this basic level, anything that's alive reproduces. It continues to produce.
Exactly.
So we're seeing that continual production of that original seed over and over and over again.
Exactly. Because even inside of our jobs, how many times do we see the president of the company?
Very few.
Yeah, you see the vice president. He's acting on behalf of the president. So there's no need for the employees now to be staring and talking and communicating with the president when the vice president is there to actually be the voice piece for the president.
Shoot, your supervisor.
Yeah, exactly. There's no need for Day of Atonement, these festivals and things like that. Listen, the priests are set up to do those services. You don't need to go talk to the Father about anything. I already set it up. This is who you deal with.
Exactly. That's key for understanding the importance of Mashiyach, because he's called the second Adam for a reason.
Exactly.
He comes to what? Restore that which failed the first time. He comes to restore. He's not come to restore what happened post Eden. That was an order that was destroyed post-exile. Pre-exile is what was destroyed. He comes to restore order, a natural order that was established by Yahuah in the first place. And that's why when we're reading today, what you should see is, you still see the order destroyed. Because what's happening with Israel? You know all this talk. What is this whole conversation from everything we read? And he's talking about gathering and what? Bringing them back to do this, that, and the other. Because the order was destroyed. Why was the order destroyed? It's just something that started in Edom that was passed all the way down. That sin of disobedience, it got in Adam's household. When Israel was established, it got in Mashiyach, Yahuah's household. The same seed. Because you're dealing with the same people that come from what? The seed of this man. Are we not called descendants?
Yes.
So would not we carry that same seed of disobedience? And not want to what? Recognize order? And see, y'all know when it comes to us, name me one time when Israel has been about following instruction and order. Even on our jobs, so simple as break time. The policy is each employee has a 30-minute break time within the day. Who in here has ever taken a 30-minute lunch break? I mean, just in all sincerity and honesty.
My 30-minute lunch break starts when our
Oh, you
food gets there.
kidding?
Yeah.
You kidding?
When it gets there, that's when my 30-minute break starts, when the food gets there.
Oh.
You know?
And see what I'm saying? It's just something as simple as that. The job said we could punch in at what time? 2:00 p.m. I said most of us are probably, how many people ever punch in on time? Okay, got about 4 or 5 more hands that time.
What's the word they say on work? If you're on time, you're late.
If you're on time, you're late.
You need to get there 10 minutes before.
Now, okay, let's say if you punch in on time at 2:00, what time do you get to work? Most time 1:50, 1:55.
Yeah.
It's out enough to swipe in at 2. And not that's just that, I'm just saying it's 1 or 2 or 3 of us, you know, that a little more prompt. We're there about what 15, 20 minutes early, 30. But for the most part, most time Israel, if the work shift is 9 to 5, most time we're getting there somewhere between 8:55 and 9 o'clock to clock in. But when we look at our history, we've never pretty much been about order and structure. It's one of the hardest things for us. That's why I tell people, I don't even try to argue with people on the scriptures no more about who's Israel. When you read what Moses dealing with in the wilderness, what other people would that be?
Black.
Name me another nation that does not know how to come together and organize and follow order and protocol. We will not do it.
We gonna bug.
And we're going to bug every time. Every time. And you see it through all of the scripture. Israel bugs from Genesis to Revelation. Am I lying?
Nope. Not at all.
So I know I'm not lying when I said it's hard for us to follow the structure and the protocol. Go ahead, Bob.
23:4. And I will set up shepherds over them, which I shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, says Yahuah. Behold, the days come, says Yahuah, that I will raise unto you David, a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his day Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely, and this is his name, whereby he shall be called
said, I will set up shepherds over them who will feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, nor shall be lacking, said Yahuah. Behold, the days will come, said Yahuah, I will raise to David a branch of righteousness. And kings shall reign and prosper and execute judgment and righteousness in the earth. Now, who is this? Because you got a lot of people out here saying that David is going to be resurrected. David is going to sit on that thing. He's going to rule over Yashra'al. Do y'all not know there's no such thing really called the throne of David? Y'all do know that, right? There's no such thing as the throne of David.
You going to deep detail?
It's the throne of Yahuah.
That's right.
Hallelujah.
Because, let's go back. He said he's going to raise a what? A branch. Who is this branch that's going to be raised?
Mashiyach.
Mashiyach. So what seed or lineage does Mashiyach come through? It's going to be Yahusha. Because remember, what does Mashiyach do when he returns? Does he not subject all things in everything unto himself? And when he has subjected all things unto himself, what does he do? Subject himself and all things unto who? Yahuah, his Father. It's always been the throne of Yahuah. Go ahead, Ak.
In his day, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely.
Stop right there. It said, in his day, who shall be saved?
Judah.
Okay, you read earlier, it said who was going to be saved?
Israel.
It said Israel was going to be saved. But it said, in his day, Judah shall be saved. And Israel shall what?
Dwell safely.
Go ahead.
And this is his name whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness.
Okay.
Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahuah, that they shall no more say, the Elohim liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahuah liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land.
Okay, stop right there. So, it said, as Yahuah lives, who brought the children of Israel from the land of Egypt. Okay, now what's wrong with that? Was there ever a land in biblical time named Egypt or called Egypt?
No.
It was Misraim. Are there even a people called Egyptians?
No.
So this is key to explain and understand a lot of things. When you're dealing with the scripture, dealing with people who want to debate and all that kind of foolishness. Every group of people you see in the scripture are named after who? The Father. The Moabites are named Moabites because of what? Who?
Moab.
Their father who? Moab. So when you see stuff like this and you start getting to terms like Egypt, if everybody else is named after someone they descend from, a father or someone they descend from, you have to ask yourself, who was Egypt then? Whose son was Egypt? Because now you have people call themselves Egyptians. There's all kind of matters of foolishness. But when you break these people down and you can go back to who they are, you can begin to teach correctly and properly and get people to see what's going on in the scripture. Why it's imperative that you know that there's no such thing as a people called Egyptians. There was no land called Egypt. So if there was no land called Egypt, who were these people that the Israelites were in captivity to? And if you can show that this was a people of color, and that these people were not Charleston Heston and Elizabeth Taylor and all these people that you see on these movies, Now, you can put a face and an image with a people, and the people look just like you, because when you read the scriptures, the Israelites should look identical to the people that have been in captivity, or the so-called quote-unquote Egyptians. How do we know that? Because when their brother Joseph went into Egypt, they could not recognize him.
Yep, did not recognize him.
It would easily be able to separate and distinguish between Charleston Heston and Elizabeth Taylor and Kunta Kinte, or somebody, you know, of that. These are two different nations, color, or type of people. These are two different people. You know what I'm saying? But when you're looking at a movie, you got the Egyptians looking European, just like the so-called quote-unquote Jews or Israelites. That can be very deceptive. And this is what has happened to our people. And I'll deal with that later. Go ahead, because we got to move ahead. Go ahead, Aki.
My heart within me is broken because of the prophets. All my bones shake. I am like a drunken man, and like a man whom wine hath overcome because of Yahuah, and because of the words of his set apart.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to stop right there anyway. Let's go to Jeremiah 50. Makoti Shia, get Neyhemyah for Jeremiah 50. And start at verse 1, and we're going to stop at verse 5.
Jeremiah 50 and 1, or Neyhemyah 51. The word that the sovereign spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Neyhemyah the prophet. Declare ye among the nations, and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken, Bel is confounded, Merodach is broken in pieces, her idols are confounded, her images are broken in pieces. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. In those days, and in that time, saith the sovereign, the children of Yashra'al shall come, they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping. They shall go and seek Yahuah, their Elohim. They shall ask the way to Zion, with their faces thitherward, saying, Come, and let us join ourselves to the sovereign, and in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten.
Oh, so you ain't going to forget it this time? Well, we're going to stop right there. And what we want to look at is, it said, for out of the north a nation shall come against her. What nation would this be?
Either would it be Greece?
Okay, then.
Depends on how you look. I'm thinking depending on how you look at the map.
Okay, so out of the north.
Ishmaelites was to the north.
Right, so would it be talking about North America?
What?
I said, would it be talking about North America? How do you know?
It's North America is on the west.
Yeah, but it's called North America.
Because it's look.
So how do we know it's not North America?
We don't.
We do.
How?
Whenever we're talking about prophecy, what's the focal point? The land is all, Israel is always the focal point. What's north of Israel?